So welcome back for part 2. This is Imagining Creates Reality from Neville from 1968. Now I'm calling it Forgiveness Creates Reality because I need to separate the two because he made 2 lectures in this year, one in October and the other one in June. So this is the October version. The other one was the June version. So I'm just going to continue as I want to just do a brief overview of what we said in the last video, which was forgiveness is entertaining and partaking in the nature of its opposite, which is a very freeing thing, right? Because and this is going to tie in. I'm just going to tie it into what we're going to say now, which is you don't need anything on the outside to do this, to perform this action of forgiveness, of entertaining the nature of its opposite. You don't need a certain mediator between you and your imagination. You don't need that. That doesn't even make sense if you think of it that way, that you would need someone in between to get you to imagine something you want to imagine. Like you decide this regardless, whether or not there is someone on the outside or not. And that's why he says, when you found this truth, the price to pay for this truth is all your isms. It's all your outside gods. It's all the false gods that you've created. All these ideas, it goes above any organization, any religion, any isms, as I said. And that can be quite a hefty price because many people in the world will believe in a God on the outside, praying to one. Really, when many people pray, even who practice this work, they might feel in the depths, they might claim something on the inside, but in the depths of their being, they really hope and feel that some outside God is going to give it to them. And that's not how we pray. That's not how this works. The way it works is by appropriation, by taking it, by accepting it, by partaking into the nature of its opposite. That is how we appropriate things. You don't really ask anyone. You're not really pleading with anything on the inside. You're not going within yourself and then asking something, hey, can I have this thought? Am I allowed to have that state? What must I do to get this state? There's no qualification. The only qualification is your faith in that state, your faith that you are that state. That's the only way around it. You don't need any other outside qualification. You take nothing from the outside. And I want to stress that. When I spoke about yielding, there are many things I've studied in life. I can be quite knowledgeable in certain subjects, but that doesn't matter to me. I don't take any of my ideas that I know about the world or how anything works. I simply imagine it regardless. So when I go within myself, because at times I've noticed that certain topics I've studied can almost come off as bondages on the inside in me, because while I'm imagining, I will think about what I learned from certain people or certain ideas from a topic that sort of place an impossibility on what I'm imagining. And sort of I'll take that into account and give it sort of authority over what I'm imagining. And so I never really believe in it. I sort of hold that reserve. Well, I did learn that this wouldn't work, or this is how things work here. And you ever hear like when people say, like, that's life. That's how life is. This is just how life works. I grew up always hearing that, well, that's life. And when something bad would happen, they would just say, well, that's life. And I just never liked that answer. I could never follow along with that answer. I just could never do it. There's an old song called That's Life. He says, you're riding high in April and then you're shot down in May. And he says, but I know I got to change that tune. And I really like that because, again, it's what tune am I singing inside? What am I saying inside? I have to change what I'm doing, or else I'll continue to reproduce the same. You want to just say the inner environment, right? Producing the same inner environment over and over and over again until I decide to move inside to a new inner environment. That's why I like to view it as like move inside first. And what I mean by that is like the same way you would do that physically, try to do that mentally. You literally move into a new space of mind where one is more fulfilled. One that is, seeing the fulfillment of what you want and entertaining yourself with that opposite. No, he says this. He says, so here I may tell you, you have within yourself the power to create anything in this world. Let things be as they are. Let people be what they want to be, but you have your own goals. It doesn't matter what has happened in your world. It doesn't matter what the world tells you or where you started. Start where you are now. And then he goes on to say the power in you is called Jesus Christ. And he says, come and test yourselves and see. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? And then he says that this isn't what he was taught as a child. When he went to his school, I think he went to a Christian school. He said, I wasn't taught this. I wasn't taught this either. I was always taught that it was something outside of me, that some saving power is outside of me. It's not found within me. But if you're listening to this and you've accepted this to a degree, you have accepted that this Savior is within you. It's not that things are not happening outside of you. And let me just quote him here. He says, "So I had found him, and I found him. I found that he is creative, and he creates in me, and my life is simply the fulfillment of my own imaginal acts. I haven't always been wise in my choice of what I would imagine. I have imagined the most unlovely things in this world and have reaped them. I became the fulfillment of what I was imagining, for imagining is always fulfilling its imaginal state, always." And so he has this moment of honesty with himself that, we've all imagined unlovely things. We've all reached unlovely things. We haven't always been wise in what we do inside of ourselves. I know I haven't. But I can't really see everyone's been wise. Some have been wiser than others, of course, but not everybody's been perfectly wise in what they do inside themselves. And I really like the part where he says, just let people have their own goals, but you focus on your own goals. You imagine those fulfilled. Let everything kind of be the way it is. Leave the world alone and change the conceptions of yourself, because you'll find so many times where you'll hear conversations of people trying to tear each other down or tear other people's, work down. And you don't have to tear anything down. You don't have to be jealous of anyone. You don't have to tear anybody down. You just keep imagining yourself being fulfilled. Do you imagine from your own premise that you are fulfilled? Do you live from that premise? You change your inner environment from a place of desire to a place of fulfillment. And you live from that. You don't just do it one time. You do it. This is a way of living. And I simply like to just say it's the imaginative way. It's just you're living life from an imaginative perspective instead of one that's just focused on the facts of life. And he gives an example. He speaks about a man who made a lot of money. And a lot of people basically told him that he shouldn't have that much money. He's short, or he's this and he's that. And he's like, it's all this envy. He's like, but the person had a dream and they realized their own dream. He's like, so just let that go. Remove the judgments that you placed upon him or her. And that's also the judgment you've placed upon yourself. So let that go, because you're really just restricting your own self when you do that. And allow yourself to not have a certain condition in place. You don't have to, again, be the most of something. You don't have to be enough of something. You just start now to plant new seeds. That's all you do. You just simply start now to plant something new. Now, this is where I think it gets a bit more, serious, where he says, so I ask you to take it seriously and don't limit yourself by anything that is happening in your world now, no matter what it is. You want to be this? Well, it's what you want, not what the other thinks you should want. You want this in the world? Well, conceive of a scene that would imply that you have it. Persuade yourself that you are it, and walk blindly in that assumption that as though it were true. And may I tell you, it will come to pass. It will not fail you. And so, again, that's a good way of saying that don't simply try to mold yourself into what you think others should want for you, what you think others want you to be. You need to decide for yourself what you want to imagine. Remember, it's your own imagination, and it's your responsibility on what you decide to put in it and what you decide to believe in it. You can doubt things inside your own self, but you can also believe things inside of your own self. And so you'll find all these states inside of you, and it's your decision to believe in them, to make them come true. That is what you do. And don't limit yourself to what you think you're allowed to have or what others think you should have. That's another thing. Not only do people want to tell you what you should be, they also tell you what you should have. And then you live your life based on what you think. You limit yourself based on their ideas. And really what you're doing, you're limiting your own imagination. You're limiting a power inside of you that appears to me to be unlimited. It appears to put you in states of consciousness that are unseen by the mortal eye. They haven't yet been realized, but they also haven't been believed in. And so they don't realize themselves in man, because man is the expressor of these states. And so don't try to live your life trying to satisfy everyone around you and leave yourself empty. You need to find what you want to imagine and start to imagine from the premise of having it. Because what will happen is if you start to imagine based upon the thoughts of other people want you to imagine, you're going to live a life, you're going to find yourself living a life you never want to live. But if you catch yourself simply limiting yourself to what other people have called you, what they have said you should want, or what you should be, you can start now to change that. Don't let the circumstances otherwise tell you that you're stuck in what you're imagining. You can't be stuck in what you're imagining. Only if you believe you're stuck in what you're imagining, you are. So you really are as free as you want to be inside of your own imagination. It truly is up to you. And so I'm going to end that one here. That was part 2 of this one. I don't think I'm going to do part 3. I think that's enough for this one. I'm going to move on and do a different lecture. But again, I want to announce that I'm doing this is going to be a public live, December 13th at 2:30 p.m. So I hope to see you there. And again, I just want to thank everybody for listening.